Well, being productive on some long-haul flights into Australia could become a thing of the past if the Australian government follows the lead of the US and Britain. In March, the US and UK stopped passengers travelling from several Muslim-majority countries from carrying laptops and other electronic devices in their hand luggage. The devices must be stored in checked-in luggage. The President of the Association of Corporate Travel Executives, Kurt Naxted, joins us now for more. Welcome, Kurt.
Thank you, Jason.
How has this travel ban affected business travellers around the world so far?
It's been a fairly significant impact so far. We've polled a lot of our corporate travel buyers, the people who manage travel on behalf of corporations, and many of them are saying that this is definitely having an impact on travel planning. It's impacted me personally. I just returned from Dublin. I was there last week, and I chose to fly via Singapore just to make sure if something changed, my plans wouldn't be affected, so I didn't have to go through the Middle East. So it's even, in fact, affecting me personally. So we're seeing that this is something that travel managers and travelers have to think about. They have to decide where to fly, how to fly, what route I should take, or in some cases whether I even travel at all. As you mentioned, productivity on the flight is critical for business travelers, and if they can't be productive on the flight, then sometimes that lessens the value of the trip. So that's a big problem.
Yeah, so for business travellers who want to work on their laptops on the plane, how many lost hours is that for them?
Well, my trip last week was 28 hours each way, and certainly can't do 28 hours on a laptop, but nonetheless, any number of those hours were used productively because I was still able to have my laptop with me. So if any percentage of the trip is unproductive, again, that's bad for business travel. Business travel is all about getting things done, whether where I'm going, I get things done, but also en route as well. It's a critical part of traveling for business. So, and the laptop is a critical piece of kit to make that happen.
So what type of businesses would involve those Muslim majority countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, those types of countries?
I mean, there are many different types of businesses operate in and throughout the Middle East, obviously oil and petrochemicals and so forth. But, you know, Dubai is a major financial center now. It's a major transit airport as well. That's the other thing to keep in mind. These Middle Eastern airports are now major transit hubs for people that travel all over the world. So that ban for business travelers, especially who often carry laptops, again, where they travel through is very important. So there's a lot of ripple effects to these types of bans that come into effect that really impact the business traveler.
Obviously, an increase in security checks are a fact of life for many travellers. So is a small inconvenience worth safer skies?
Look, I think, and the one thing that we've said all along, from our perspective as an association that represents business travelers, security is the number one priority. Business travelers are frequent travelers, and therefore, the more they travel, the more likely things could go wrong, and they don't want that to happen. But that being said, we have spent billions of dollars over the last couple of decades in security measures. And now we're starting to question, are we getting the return on that investment? Because all these measures seem to not quite meet the mark. And if we're constantly investing in these security measures and we still have to implement these sort of very heavy-handed measures, then are the security measures working? And business travelers subsidize a lot of these because they pay a lot for their travel. And some of these measures, the taxes that pay for these things are tied to the value of the ticket. So there's an economic impact of these bans as well. So it is a big impact for us.
The fact that there needs to be a ban might raise questions about the screening procedures. Do you have any concerns about those?
Well, look, again, business travelers are more than happy to provide support for these measures, especially if they understand why that's being done. We want to be safe. We want everybody that travels to be safe. Minor inconveniences are one thing, but when they are now changing constantly and there doesn't seem to be a real systemic approach to what countries, why these countries are coming in, what will be next, that that uncertainty is very disconcerting for business travelers.
And there are reports that the US may extend the ban to include Europe. What would happen then?
Well, the transatlantic is one of the busiest routes in the world. I think I saw a number of 65 million passengers a year are crossing the Atlantic. So not only is it a massive route for travel, but it's massive for the airlines. Those are often the most profitable routes for the airlines, is the transatlantic route. And it's also, again, a route that business travelers are on constantly. If it does come into effect, there will be some significant impacts, I'm sure, on the frequency of travel, whether travelers actually do that trip. We've seen some of the Middle Eastern carriers already reducing some services into the U.S. from the Middle East. That could happen as well for the transatlantic carriers. So it's a very big potential impact for the industry as a whole.
Well, we'll have to see what the Turnbull government has in store. Kurt Naxted, thanks very much.
Thank you, Jason.